Hello and welcome back to the On the Slab Horror Show, the show that we bring to you each and every Friday night. Why I do this on a Friday night? Because Friday night is horror night. Uh, for our guest here, I know he's seen a few of the old episodes, but I'll give him the rundown anyway. Um, we had a channel called Channel 4 that used to give us the classics, we'll say. There was some terrible ones in there too on a Friday night at 10 o'clock. We used to have the watershed, so after 10 o'clock on anything went to go on telly. But it was free to air TV and it was awesome. That's where we got a lot of the classics on. That's where I first seen Nightmare on Elm Street at about 12, and I was hooked ever since. It's where I actually got to see the Mutilator for the first time as well. But that's a story for people have heard many times over. But tonight we are joined by an actor, producer, semi-director, director, bit of everything, jack of all trades, and star of I can't even say it's one of the most anticipated movies of the year for me. It probably is in Mutilator 2 and The Woodman, which is obviously friends of the show, Dan, Anna, and Jake all involved in. Welcome, Mr. Bryden Digennaro. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Did I butcher it?
No, you did not. You had it spot on.
Yes. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to come on. I know you don't do a whole lot of these, so
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like it's something I probably need to start doing more often because I feel like I'm being pushed by a lot of other artists, filmmaker friends, and it's to be able to promote yourself and I don't know, everybody's always like you should use social media, especially not like in these times because it's like that's how people like get their stuff out there and it's like I don't know. I've never really thought about really using social media as a platform for like that, but I'm just like to see what people do nowadays. It's like okay, so like I kind of get it, but I guess I just kind of like the old ways of doing stuff. But like a lot of people do podcast shows and stuff, and so it's like conventions is something I've never really done before. Maybe it's something I should look into down the line, especially with a couple of the projects that are coming out and have been doing conventions. So yeah, we'll
absolutely.
see where it goes.
Go on, name drop. Who's pushing you around? Who's telling you what to do?
Well, I mean, Dan, and I think especially like people that I work with on Mutilator too, they're like, you should totally do stuff like that because I've just heard stories how it's just like it's a great way to network and to meet people and to get yourself out there, of course, and especially with stuff that you have worked on and are going to be working on in the future. People will remember you more or less. You drop your name and you go to one, two, three, 20 conventions. It's like, oh yeah, like I remember that guy. Like I remember that girl, that actor, that actress, that person. Like I remember those people.
I
So
mean,
yeah.
I've interviewed probably nearly all the cast at this stage. Yeah,
And that's
I
the thing is like I've been watching your show for a while and like Buddy was
thank you.
on it. Of course. Eva was on it. Dan was on it.
Anna
I think
was
you
on it.
did. Did you do? Oh yeah, Anna was on it. I think. Did you do
Anna was the first
Cheney?
guest. Yeah,
Anna was the first guest. Okay.
yeah.
So
Anna was the
Cheney
first
did it.
guest. Cheney done it. Jeff Seaman done it.
Yep. Jeff did it.
Jeff was at the time when Jeff done it. He was more for Terror Trips,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which was phenomenal, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I
Um,
also bought a copy of that too. I have that as well.
I really enjoyed that one. Who else has done it?
Well, oh, so I
Ruth has done
believe
it.
when you did one of your shows, you had a couple of like special guests that kind of popped on, and I remember, I think one of our makeup or costume people chimed in. What's his name? I forgot already. Wow, I'm terrible. Um,
No, wouldn't have been this one. I might have been in on the conversation on someone else's, but it wasn't on this one.
Maybe it wasn't okay, but anyway, I think you were in on the conversation, but they had a couple of people come in from Mutilator, like on the crew side, so that was cool as well.
I'm I'm kind of
But
like
anyway,
honorary crew at this stage. I even have a cast and crew hat.
you should just do the entire cast and everybody, just like all at
I,
once.
I've pretty much got my way through it. as it says, like, yeah, there's only a small few that I haven't actually got to, and some of them we were meant to link up with a couple of weeks ago, but
Are you trying
things
to
happen.
get Damien in on it or no?
I asked out, but like,
Okay.
people are busy, people are busy, and that kind of way.
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah, no, we had a different show lined up, but plans got changed, so I'm gonna try and reschedule that for the future. Um, but this one isn't about them. This one's about you, sir.
Okay, that's fair.
Now, let's see how red I can get you to go now.
All right, sounds good.
Go on, tell me all things Bryden. Let's go.
All things Bryden. Okay, well, so let's see. So I want to say I got into like horror movies probably pretty early on. I was probably like 12 or 13. The first horror movie that I saw when I was 13 was The Ring, the American version. I didn't see
Yeah,
the
what?
original till later on because I just recently, well, not recently, but like more got into like foreign horror films over probably like the past 5 or 7 years. And not dog soldiers, but we'll get into that later.
That's a different issue. That is.
But yeah, so that was the first horror movie I saw as a kid, and I loved it. It was great, scared the crap out of me. And from there, it just kind of expanded, and I started just watching everything and anything that I possibly could, whether it was a slasher movie, a supernatural, paranormal, creature feature, whatever it was. I just kind of fell in with like the entire genre itself as a whole. Um, and as I got older, I got more into creature features and slasher movies.
My man.
And so I want to say probably close to when I finished college, I got more into kind of like the film aspect of it, like filmmaking. I started taking a lot of like film classes, acting classes, just kind of getting into the whole thing again in general. Um, and then once I moved to New York back in 2013 was when I started kind of actively trying to get into that horror scene. Um, and so that is where the movie, the short film, The Passage I did, which it's kind of obscure, and I feel like some people have heard of it, some people have not. It did do a pretty big circuit, like the film circuit, and then debuted actually in London at a film festival, and then from there the rest is history. And now it's a part of Crypt TV, and they own the rights to it, but you can still watch it on YouTube and everything.
I mean, that's good going.
Yeah, it's got over 500,000 views on YouTube, I think, and it's been nominated like multiple times for awards. And it was my first intro, not only into horror movies, but into kind of like creature acting and like special effects and kind of that whole thing. Um, so with that movie, I played the devil, and it was an extensive, like literally like 9 to 5 day of like in makeup, being in the chair, being covered in latex from like here all the way down to like my waist. So all of this was, except for my hair because I wore a bald cap, but everything was shaved. Like I said, I was covered from cheek to waist in latex.
Now, you just blew the opportunity there. You could have went cheek to cheek.
Cheek to cheek. Yeah, there you go. Okay, that
Yeah,
sounds better. You can cheek to cheek in latex, and
I'd say that was
that
hot.
was that was to say in one word incredible, but like literally scary because I had never done anything like that before. And it requires a lot of patience and waiting and not moving, which I have a hard time doing in general.
Me too.
um, as you can tell right now. But you learn to like deal with it because there's multiple makeup effects artists with you the entire time. People kind of feeding you and constantly drinking water and trying to stay hydrated because you can't move. You literally just have to kind of like sit still in a chair and it's like, okay,
Yeah,
does this
that would
itch? Does
work
this
for me.
feel okay? um, are you okay? Can you breathe? Can you do this? Can you move this? Can you do that? So yeah. But I've done that a lot since then. So I've learned, been around the block a few times. It's not as big of a deal, and I love it. I honestly love it. It's great. So
I mean, like, that takes something special to be able to sit there for 3 or 4 hours. Like, I was watching recently. I watched the documentary for Pennywise, or for Pennywise, and they're saying about doing Tim Curry's, and then I was listening to interviews with Jim Carrey where he's getting the Grinch done. It's 4 hours, and I'm like, there's no chance I'd sit there and be able to do that. Not a hope.
Yeah, I mean, so I again, like I love all that stuff. I watched all those documentaries as well. The It one about the Pennywise one about It was great. I mean, I love Tim Curry. I think he's fantastic.
John,
I've pretty much seen everything he's done. Um, It is probably the original is probably one of my favorite movies. I also love the book. I've read that multiple
and me.
times.
It's the only book that I've read multiple times.
Me too.
Um, but John Capopilano done a great job with that. Now, we actually had the chance to sit down with him there a couple of weeks ago. What a night!
Yeah,
What a stellar
it
guy.
was great. It's just I mean, I guess again, like in one word, it takes a lot of patience. It's not something that every actor can do or wants to do. Like when Tim Curry was talking about how he originally was like, "You have the wrong guy. Like, I don't think I can do this." Like, and look what happened. Like, look what he made. He made this iconic horror character.
He,
Um,
he was the reason people are afraid of clowns, really.
yeah,
Or, well, no, maybe not all the people, but for people from sort of the early '90s, late '80s, early '90s, he's probably the reason that people are afraid of clowns.
yeah. I mean, up until then, they hadn't, to my knowledge. I mean, I've seen a lot. I mean, I'm sure you can agree with me on this, but like, I've seen a lot of horror movies, like from even the '50s up into the '90s, and they had never really had anything that was like that was done that way with that specific character, and
Not,
that
not,
really,
not that I can remember now.
um, so yeah, that kind of paved the way for clowns and horror, I guess.
I think I think Gacy done an awful lot though, didn't he? Obviously being a real life um serial killer. Uh, but he was. I think it was Gacy that liked to dress up as the clown.
Yeah, yeah, you got it. Yeah, that's it.
So that yeah, that's so things like that probably didn't help either. But certainly Tim Curry took it to the big screen and changed the game. Like now you look at it, throughout the years we've seen some. I think Twisty the Clown was one. Um, it was good, nothing major. Ross Noble had a very good Irish horror called Stitches, where he became the
Yes,
clown.
that one was great. I really actually enjoyed that one. That was a really pretty solid horror movie. I don't mean to cut you off. Like that was a lot of fun. I think I've seen that movie like 10 times.
So you know the house party they're in.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, I've been in that house.
Really? Is it an actual house or was that a set?
Yeah, you know it's a house.
Okay, so they used the house as a set. That's really
Yeah.
fucking cool. Awesome.
Yeah, like we didn't know anything about it. I just knew it was an Irish movie, and me and one of my mates were sitting there watching it. I was like, I've been in that house.
That's so cool. That's so
Um,
cool.
yeah, we had Stitches. Obviously Eli Roth's clown was very good.
Yeah.
And then we had the late great Sid Haig, obviously, with Captain Spaulding. But that was a
Yep.
different kind from everybody else. That was a real fuck you.
Yeah. That was that. Yeah. That was. I don't know. I mean, yeah, like what you said. I
And
mean,
and now we have obviously have Art, who's just everywhere now at the minute.
well, it's funny because going off of that, like, first of all, and I know it's not about them, it's about me, like you said, but congrats to all of them because they've blown up and it's amazing.
Yeah,
Um, but
absolutely.
I remember like one of the things that I like to do as an actor, a horror enthusiast, of a love of the genre. I love to just go on YouTube sometimes and like for hours we'll just Google short horror films because I feel like, especially for a lot of like upcoming and aspiring filmmakers, like that's where you start is short. It's just easier in that aspect of things.
Mm.
Whether it's money, time, space, whatever the deal is. And I just love to see what's out there. And I remember back in like 2014 or 15, I think I came across the original Terrifier short film on YouTube. And it was like 20 minutes long. And I was like, oh, okay, this is cool, whatever. It's just it's a slasher film about a clown, which is cool, original. Um,
Was that the one that
and
came out
then
of All Hallows Eve?
Well, yeah, so that was the thing, and I remember seeing that, but I didn't know much about Damien at the time or Art the Clown. I was just like, again, like this is a cool independent film. Like I love this. This is fantastic.
Yeah, the anthology
Um,
was good, wasn't it?
it was really good. It was really good. And then like fast forward to Terrifier came out. it did really, really well, screened at festivals, everything. I remember, I think the first time I watched it was on Netflix, actually, because I think they picked it up. Um, and then from
Doesn't
there
sound like
they did. I
Netflix.
don't, maybe it was Amazon. I don't remember, but they had it at one point. I don't remember. Um, and then they started doing the campaign for two, and just kind of blew up from there. And again, fast forward, it just blew up. I mean, if you've seen the second one, it's amazing. They did such
Oh,
a great job.
phenomenal. Like
It's so
I've
good.
said it. I've said it on so many of the podcasts now, and obviously a lot of the people that we have on are indie um, filmmakers or actors, actresses. Um, but like when you're looking at an indie film, like that's your benchmark. I know Smile was considered an indie film and boxed higher, but you're talking about Terrifier 2 ran against Halloween and more than held its own.
Which is nuts because that's been something that's been around since the 70s,
Yeah.
and they're still going.
Well,
So
let's hope it stops there now for a while, but
yeah,
I
we
will
don't
say
have to
though,
go into.
Damien and David just absolutely knocked it apart. And then I mean to say, like I knew I'd seen the first one a few times, and I was like, okay, there's no real rhyme or reason to it. It's just there. Two had more of a story to it, but Lauren Rivera absolutely killed it. Like that's the best final girl I've seen for must be 15 years
It's been a long time since
more.
we have a good one. Yeah, I agree.
Maybe Sarah McDonald from The Descent was the last one for Neil Marshall's The
That
Descent.
that is also a very solid horror movie. I love that one. That I would
That's
have
a
loved
that's
to
a
have
proper one.
like I would have loved to have played one of those creatures in that movie. Like that would have been a dream, to be honest. That movie, like, I mean, gosh, yeah, no, that was solid. I definitely have that in my top five for sure.
Craig Conway played one of them, who was obviously in Dog Soldiers as well, and it was just awesome. That whole movie. That was one of the last few movies that really swerved me, because obviously it's in a cave and you think, oh, they're just getting lost, and then all of a sudden he's just standing there and you're like, what the fuck?
No, I think you're right. I think the whole aspect of the movie in general is fucking terrifying. I feel like, again, like it's not just about these people that are running from an entity, a creature, a killer, whatever. Like they're stuck in a cave, which is scary enough for most of us. And
Nope.
not only
Nope.
that, they're being, well, not, no spoilers alert for people who haven't seen it, but they're being chased by something within the cave, and it's like great. So they have nowhere to go, and they're being chased by something also. So
I mean, can it
have
can it
fun.
be can it be construed as a spoiler when it was 2004? Probably not. Um, but like that, Neil Marshall absolutely went back to back bangers with that and Dog Soldiers.
Yeah, I mean the thing is though too, and it's like with some of these indie movies like that I love, I feel like sometimes they don't get enough recognition, and like later on, like years after it comes out, and people start to realize like, oh my god, like this movie is actually really amazing because of whatever is coming out at that time. People are looking at those, and it's like, oh, okay, so there's this other horror movie that is out. Okay, like I'll give it a try, whatever. But then later on, people are like, oh my god, like this is amazing. So
And
yeah,
your case in point being Dog Soldiers. It's now 21 years later, and in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion now, the best werewolf movie ever.
I think so. To be honest, between you and
I,
I
I,
love
I,
that
might, I
movie.
might as well ask you the question before we get into your movies. I might as well do it. We do it at the end of the show normally, but American Werewolf or Dog Soldiers? Seeing as you've just given us the answer.
I would do Dog Soldiers,
Yeah.
100%.
Like, don't get me
Don't get me
wrong.
wrong.
American Werewolf is great, but it's just there.
I just the thing is like the one thing I have to say is like I'm definitely a werewolf fan for sure. When it
Oh yeah,
comes to creature movies, go ahead.
there is not enough good ones. And I mean, what Dog Soldiers was probably the last great one we got. And then this year we got an absolute banger in Viking Wolf. And
I
by the
have
looks
not
of that,
seen
you
that
haven't
one.
seen it yet.
I have not seen that. Wait, Viking. Okay, I have to watch that. I have to watch that like
It's
tonight.
on Netflix.
I have to watch it now. Now.
Right, we'll just end this now,
Okay, I'll see you later.
and we'll restart. Viking Wolf is right up there. Like
Okay.
I have it as my number one movie of the year so far.
Okay.
Uh,
So to go off of what you're saying, because I just feel like the thing is like there was a time difference between American Werewolf in London and Dog Soldiers.
yeah,
So there was a big chunk of time in between there. So for special effects, for filmmaking in general to evolve within that time period, there was a lot of time, to be able to come up with something different. And in that time period, they made other werewolf movies, which we've seen. And
some
yeah,
unfortunately.
I don't, like the thing is with American Werewolf in London, again, it was something that was made between like the 1940s from Wolfman up until then. There had never really been anything that was really done to that aspect of things again. And so, in my mind, American Werewolf in London, and people can shoot me down for saying this, but it's like, it's more of like a hybrid type of a thing. Like, it didn't
Oh
feel
yeah.
like a werewolf movie to me because it was more of just like a wolf that was like,
See, this is a point that I brought up. Um, like I've said it, and I said it on the debate show that we had, and I've said it on other shows, and me and Carl have gone toe to toe with it. Um,
oh, Carl.
it's just I always thought like as cool as the Kessler Wolf is, to me, like it doesn't look like it can do much more damage than a tiger or a lion that got loose could. But this thing wrecks a city. Do you know what I mean? That's the only thing. And like uh, the effects, phenomenal. Rick Baker being Rick Baker.
Of course, absolutely,
John
100%, by any
Landis,
means.
and the soundtrack was great.
Yeah. Yep.
But the ending was just kind of smushed together and just went, that's it, over.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean that's the thing is it really was kind of one of the things where it's like, you have the whole movie, the story, everything, you're invested in it, it happens, and then like, yeah, like it's just like that's it, like it's done. And I'm like, okay. Um
Like, don't get me wrong, like American Werewolf is number two on the list for me.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely number two or three for me for sure. I just like fast forwarding to dog soldiers, I kind of feel like it's more of an adapted like werewolf film because in my mind, like, so not to throw in other ones, but like I do enjoy Underworld. That series I think is fun.
Yeah.
But as far as the point I'm trying to make is as far as the werewolves go in that, like that's more of like what Dog Soldiers was going for.
Yeah.
More upright, walking on 2 feet, kind of more of a larger scale of like a beast. Um, a werewolf and a wolf man are two different things in my perspective. Um, Not the same thing.
I can get that. A Wolfman, what we've seen throughout the years, kind of talks and well, not, but like to me, that's the way they always seemed. Like the original Wolfman and stuff to me looked like they could nearly sit and have a conversation. And I know it was 1948, I think, when that came out. Do you know what I mean? So like, there's obviously evolution to it. Then you had Benicio del Toro's one, and then you had the unfortunate Jack Nicholson one. Um, like it's just not worked throughout the years at all. Like the original, perfect, great. American Werewolf, The Howling was great. Um,
That too,
and then
yeah, that was a good one.
it kind of went on a lull. We got Company of Wolves actually. That was another really good one. Um, and then we got Dog Soldiers, which kind of tried to bring people back out to doing it. Wes Craven tried his hand and it was terrible. Not more so his fault, I don't think, because of
Yeah,
studios telling them that it has to be rewritten and stuff, which was a joke.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and now fast forward another 20 years until we get another good one.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they have in store for anything. I mean, there's there's like I've seen like I mean, despite Viking Wolf, which I have to watch that. Like they've made a couple of like independent werewolf movies I've seen, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Um, I've seen one. Like there was one I bought literally because of the name of it. It's called The Beast of Bray Road. Now there's about
yeah, I've
50
seen.
different ones.
Yeah,
Uh, this one's a red one. It's like a red cover on the DVD. I only bought it because I'm from Bray,
yeah, yeah.
and it was in the title. And I was like, okay, but like, yeah, werewolves, they're very harshly done by. Um, and unfortunately, I don't know when we're gonna get the next big one.
I don't know. I
But
mean, the thing is, like, I want to say that I heard, like, just researching that they might be remaking American Werewolf in London, but like, I don't know how.
ugh,
Yeah, I don't know.
who are you gonna get other than Rick Baker to do that? Now I know it's. I think he was just a guy at the forefront of teaching people how to do it. So probably a lot more people know how to do it now, and there's a better technology. Like you could say maybe you get Tom Savini in, you maybe get Greg Nicotero in. Do you know what I mean someone like that?
I mean,
Or
the thing
they'll
is like,
they'll fuck it up and do CGI, one or the other.
I feel like a lot of people are trying to get back into the practical effects. I really do. Like, a lot of people are trying to do that, which I
And it's
know.
great.
Again, like, I know it's tough, but it's like, again, like you were just mentioning, like the classics, like Rick Baker, Tom Savini, Greg Nicotero, like they all kind of started that whole thing, like, bringing that up. So it's like a lot of it now, unfortunately, because those filmmakers and artists are getting older, it's going to be a lot of, up to the younger people that have been taught and going to these schools and learning on these different sets of, these masterpieces. You know, yeah,
And I'll,
that's what's going to happen.
I'll tell you one to watch out for though. That he's killing it making masks at the minute. Jason Baker. He works quite closely with Tom Savini.
Okay.
He does. I don't know whether you've ever watched WWE, but he done the likes of Bray Wyatt's The Fiend mask and stuff.
No, no.
But he's like his Instagram is really cool. He has loads of stuff that he's done on it.
Okay, he's a makeup artist.
Yeah, he makes the masks and stuff with Tom.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. All
So
right,
I mean, if you're gonna learn to make a mask, you might as well learn off the best to do it.
from him.
Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
I
Like
mean,
I think Rick Baker's probably the best effects I've ever seen. Tom Savini's definitely the best masks and facial
yeah, I
makeup
mean,
effects. And then Greg Nicotero is just kind of like a hybrid of the two of them.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, well, Tom Savini, I think, and Greg Nicotero, I think, I want to say roughly are around, well, not around the same age, but they're
They're close
close enough
enough.
to, yeah, close enough to where, like, because I remember, like I watch like interviews and documentaries about, like, the backstories of all these artists and filmmakers, and it's just amazing to kind of see where they came from and how they started. And like Greg Nicotero, he worked, so one of so I mean, I'm a big fan of Evil Dead. Like, I love the Evil Dead series and Sam Raimi and, Bruce Campbell and that whole thing and where they came from. And Greg
Genius.
Nicotero and their team, their special effects team, they worked on Evil Dead 2, which is really cool. So, that was in their heyday when they were coming up, and so
What was
yeah, I
that? That was
mean,
eight. That was 88, was it? 86, 88, something like that.
so the first Evil Dead was 81, and then, yeah, and then the second one was 87.
87. Yeah,
Yeah, yep.
close enough. I got 86,
So
88, and I missed the one that it was.
um but anyway, we can move on.
Yeah, but they were great. But as I says, this conversation, the thing with it not being scripted is you get conversations like the last 10 minutes. Um, but let's jump into it. How did you get cast in the Mutilator 2? I'm sure people are
Okay,
sick of
so
me interviewing people from the Mutilator 2, but
no, no,
this is
no, no. I mean, I love it. Like I said, I've been watching all the interviews you're doing, so this is great. I've been, I don't know, like, anyway. So I want to say it was like late 2021, like maybe Thanksgiving to Christmas, in between that era, like late November, early December. And I was looking up castings like online and whatnot, and I came across Mutilator 2, which I thought was weird because I wasn't really sure if this was real or not. I was like, is this like compared to the original? Because by that point I already seen it a few times. So I was like, okay. And like I look at the casting, it said Buddy Cooper, and I was like, oh wow, like this is the original. Like
all
this is,
in.
I was like, this is crazy. Like this can't be real. Like this is weird. Like this is too much. Like this is a dream come true. So um, I was like, you know what? I looked at the casting. They were looking for local North Carolinas. I was like, well, I live in New York. Well, whatever. Like I'll go for it anyway. Why not?
Is that far?
Well, from North Carolina to New York, it's maybe like a 2 hour, like an hour and 45 minute flight. It's not too far. It's not that far.
Would that
Um,
would that would those flights be expensive?
no, they would not.
Oh,
They would
okay.
not.
So it's not
Not
too
too
bad. It's
bad.
not a bad.
No, not at all. So I submitted. Didn't think much of it. Obviously, as an actor, you're like you win some, you lose some, whatever. Um, and right after Christmas, I got an email from the producers, and they were like, "Hey, like this is Jeff, this is Anne. We're the producers on Mutilator 2. We want to reach out and say that we spoke to Buddy. He saw your stuff, your headshot. We like your look for a part. We would love to interview you for a role in the movie." And I was like no way. I was like, this is ridiculous. Seriously? So I emailed them back, and they're like, let's set up a meeting and a time to do it before the new year. And I was like, all right,
You,
great.
you
So
emailed them back instantly.
I did. Yeah, I literally did. Literally like the same day. And I want to say it was like 2 or 3 days after Christmas. It was like the 27th or the 28th of December of 2021. And they were like, and so we did the interview. Um, it went well. It was just me, Jeff, and Anne. I guess Buddy was not able to make it on. Um, and we just spoke about me and Mutilator 2 and what to expect and all this stuff. And that was it. And they're like, all right, they're like, we're going to keep in touch and let you know. Um, and I was, I was very nervous, but I was excited. I was like, this would be an amazing opportunity if I get this. Like like I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket, um, but let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that something comes out. Um, so then I want to say fast forward a couple of weeks, the new year. I was Christmas vacation. We were supposed to meet again. They wanted to do another interview because Buddy wanted to meet with me as well, but unfortunately that didn't happen. So they emailed me again and they're like, we're gonna let you know moving forward what's gonna happen. And I was like, all right. So this isn't looking too good for me. I feel like this is not gonna work out. It's like, all right, it's whatever. Like I had a chance, I had a shot, whatever. And then fast forward another week, I get an email from the producers saying like, look, Buddy's not able to meet. He loves your look. We loved you. We think you're great for this role. We want to offer you the part. And I was like, no. I was like, no effing way. This is fucking amazing. And there, the rest is history. They sent everything over. They got contracts and everything. And they were like, we need you for this period of time. We're going to send you all the info and everything. And that was that. And I got the part, and I was ecstatic. I was hysterical. I was like, this is amazing. This is a dream come true for somebody like me, because I've always wanted to be in a sequel to an 80s slasher movie, which I was like, how is this even possible? Like, this is crazy. So yeah.
And there's
And then I went down there. It was late April to early May. I was down there for like 2 or 3 weeks, and it was the most amazing time I've ever had.
I seen Dan put up a picture there yesterday, I think. Well, obviously when this comes out, it won't be yesterday, but that is it just I think is it just finished wrapping a year ago.
Was it a whole group photo?
Yeah.
So to tell you a little bit about that photo, not that I'm giving anything away, that was just a group photo of all the actors after. It wasn't a wrap, actually. It was one of the
Oh,
days that we wrapped early, and we just wanted to hang out. And so he posted that, and I thought that was a fun photo. So
he's
yeah.
a good lad. Now the one person I didn't mention when I was going through the list of people that I have interviewed was the big superstar Carl Grasso. Shout out to Carl.
Yeah,
He,
of course.
he'll never forgive me.
I don't
Uh,
think he was. I don't think he was at that gathering that
no, he
night. I
wasn't in
think
that
he was
photo anyway.
somewhere else. He was not in the photo. Although I've taken a couple of photos with Carl. I'll send you some. Um,
Carl's such a good lad. Had a great laugh with him.
but also, not to give anything away, I do have a couple of scenes with Carl, so you can look forward to that
If
as well.
if you wreck this movie for me, I will end you.
Nope,
No,
not at all.
I
You are
mean,
in for a huge
I've
surprise and a
gotten
huge
through,
treat.
I've gotten through what about 10 interviews, and I've not had anything ruined on me, so I'm doing well. I mean, I think I'm just as excited as everybody that was in it for it to come out.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Carl's great. I love him. He's fun to work with. Like I said, I got to work with him a good amount on this one, which was fun. And he's just a fun person to hang out with. He really, really is. He's a native to North Carolina, I believe, although I do believe he's actually from New York, which is cool. Um, and so he's told me a lot of stories about that. That's where he kind of got more into like theater and whatnot, and then he eventually moved down to North Carolina. And he's also worked with Dan quite a few times as well. So they've linked up quite a bit as well. But yeah, Dan's amazing. Carl, everybody that had worked on that movie, cast and crew, Buddy, everybody is just amazing to kind of round him out. Jeff, the producer, I've seen some of his work. Obviously, we talked about Terror Trips, awesome. I've seen that many times. Kudos to him on that.
It's
Um,
class.
I actually even I remember way back when Jeff was starting out, even as like his directorial debut on a short film that he did a short film I saw, and this was before I even knew him, and that was where I saw him first, and he did that, which was a great movie. Um, and yeah, it's just the entire like it felt like a family. It really did. It was just like the 3 weeks I was there. It was like I had never been anywhere else. It was just yeah, yeah.
So that's literally what I've heard of absolutely everybody. Um, everyone was just so nice to each other. It was like literally they were staying there. You'd be walking down. Can't remember who said it. They were like you could be walking down the hallway and the kind of thing, find someone you work with, and then you just go with them.
Yeah, I mean, from the first day that I went there, like I flew to North Carolina, they picked me up, I drove to set, and from that moment, it was like I had already been there for 2 weeks, and everybody was like, "Let me help you with this, let me do this. It's nice to meet you. Like, come do this, meet this person, blah blah blah." Like, yeah, it was like I said, it just I don't have any words to describe it because it was just such an amazing time.
I mean, you can all blame Eva for having to come on the show. It was her Instagram post that actually alerted me to a mutilator too.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
she was fantastic. We hung out a few times. She's so talented and amazing, and I've seen a bunch of her stuff
yeah.
that's on Amazon, Shutter. Yeah, she's great. She's so great.
But it was her Instagram post when I seen mutilator too, and I was like, no, this can't be. Like for me, I have mutilator one in my top, sometimes top five, all the time top 10 horrors. Depends on how I'm feeling on the day. But like when I seen the second one, and I was like, no. So that's when I started scouring through. That's where I found Anna, and uh, and then everything kind of spiraled down from there. Not down,
Well,
but
so
like
I'm assuming you saw the trailer for the second one. I'm
I have, yeah.
assuming.
But
Okay,
I
yeah.
had done
So
all the I had done all these before the trailer.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
they were there was a lot of hype for that. There was a lot of hype for that. Fangoria, I think, or Bloody Disgusting picked that up and they put it on their website. But that was a lot of people were waiting for that to come out because there was just like, interview and review after review, and it's just like, all right, we're all just like waiting for like all this stuff to come out, and it's like, so,
I'm hoping it won't be too much longer.
I don't. I mean, the thing is, I literally don't know. I have no idea, but I'm assuming very soon. I'm assuming very soon. So.
If I have to wait any longer than very soon, I'm gonna come after you. I
Oh, I
uh,
know, I know. I feel you. I feel you. I'm waiting for it to come out too. I really want to see it. Oh my God.
oh, you haven't even seen it yet. Has
The
anyone seen it,
movie? No, I haven't seen the movie yet.
or have you seen? No, not even seen seen some of it. You obviously seen bits. You know what happens, like. But no,
I have nothing. I mean, the thing is, like, it's funny being on both sides of it, like being on set and then waiting on a release of a movie, and you knowing as an actor what you're doing, and even the scenes that you're in, it's like you don't really get to see them. you get to be in them, but you don't really get to see what's going on until the finished product. So, and then not only that, when you're not on set for whatever else is going on, again, it's going to be it's going to be a surprise to me too. I'm not going to know, you know, like okay, like you get a script, you read something, you know roughly what's going on, whether you read your parts or the entire thing, but that's just words on paper. I don't know what they have in store for like everything else that's going to happen in the movie. So, I
I
know the
imagine people
mutilator.
get killed.
Well, so that's the thing is, so like I know the mutilator, the original, has these kills that go for it. Like the slasher fans love the kills. All I can say from what I've heard is that these kills in Mutilator 2 are going to be epic. Like, I haven't seen anything, I haven't heard anything, other than that. But
I mean,
I heard
like
that,
when you look at the talent, the talent and the skill that Buddy and the special effects team did in that original one, right? So like you take the cop who gets the little piece of wood through his cheek, that's rough as fuck. And then obviously you get the gaff hook scene, which was just horrendous.
yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Normally, you know when lads see it in a film when someone gets hit in the nuts and they kind of just wince. I could only imagine any female that watched that just went. Um, but like that like as I said, the first one's just amazing.
Yeah, I remember watching a couple of interviews with Buddy about the original and that specific kill, and that was yeah, that was interesting, and I think it was tough in the moment when they were doing it. And it wasn't something that, again, people had really probably seen specifically, so it was out there, but it worked, and they made it work. So
Brilliantly.
yeah.
Right. But that's enough about the Mutilator because I'm sure fans now are getting sick of it without me actually being able to say, well, I've seen it, and I do kind of hope I get to see it quite soon. But like the problem for me is it'll release in the States and I won't get to see it.
Yeah, I don't really know.
That's gonna be my issue. That will be my issue. And I fully know because independent movies don't really release over here.
Yeah,
So that kind of way, but I'll deal with that one when it comes.
they'll have to zoom you in on the premiere.
Yeah. Hey, who's that? Oh, that's just Greg. He's the guy who interviewed everybody.
Like he's a VIP. It's okay. Let him.
I mean, they can't fly me over, so they can just put me on a Zoom call.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go. Just set like a camera in the back, like a
Yeah.
computer, whatever.
Remember, like, was it what movie was it now? Where your man's going around on the computer? Was it on Scrubs? Wasn't it? He was going around on the on the iPad.
Yes. Yeah.
Was it Scrubs? He was
I
going
think
around the
so.
iPad. And the iPad was on, and it was his face. Yeah, it was. Um, but that's enough about the Mutilator. As much as it's going to be epic. We'll move on to the next big project. Obviously, other stars of the Mutilator, Anna and Dan, um, yourself, all going into Joshua. I'm gonna attempt the second name. Is it Brooker or Bruckner? Um, yeah, I'm not even gonna apologize for attempting to butcher that.
You don't have to. I think it's.
Um,
I think it's Bruckner.
yeah,
Oh man, now I'm butchering it too.
who's obviously well known around the indie circuit as well as a very talented director. Um,
Yes.
is coming in to do The Woodman. Obviously, there's not a whole lot released about it. But big friend of the show, Jake is doing the cinematography for it. Jake Robinson. So keeping it within a close knit circle again. Um, but yeah, not a whole lot released. I know you probably can't give anything away about it, but how did you go about getting cast in that one?
So yeah, so I mean, obviously, I'm going to be in the Woodman with my fellow Mutilator 2 cast members, Dan Grogan and Anna Clary as well. So again, so I want to say it was probably summer or like fall of 2022 where Dan had reached out to me at one point, and he just, because like we obviously stay in touch from Mutilator 2 because we became good buddies, and he just told me about this movie he's going to be casting called The Woodman, and he had been posting some stuff on social media, and I saw it, and I was like, that looks like a really cool idea, and it's found footage, which is another like close thing to my heart as a horror fan. I love found footage movies. And again, it was also a dream of mine to be in a found footage movie ever since Blair Witch Project, because I also love that movie. But that's another
That's
conversation we can have.
that's the benchmark, isn't it?
And so he was telling me a lot about that. I was seeing little bits in here and there on social media he was posting between the end of 2022 and early 2023. And then, so I want to say it was 2 or 3 months ago. I want to say like February. Dan had reached out to me and he was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I was like, "Good." And he's like, "So I have opportunity for you possibly." And I was like, "Oh, like what's up?" And he's like, "Do you remember that movie I told you about called The Woodman?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "What's up?" He's like, "So Joshua, the director, he's looking for people to play like kind of like a, not giving too much away, kind of, but like to kind of play like a creature aspect of the movie in this film." And he was like, "I mentioned you to Josh because I know you do creature work, character work, and because he was having a hard time casting somebody." So kind of the rest is history. Like he reached out to Dan. Dan told him. Josh reached out to me, and from there I got cast in The Woodman, and
Nice,
very
nice.
excited. It's going to be a blast. I am hoping to bring a lot to the character that using my past talents from. So, but yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. It's going to be a blast. We film in Georgia in a month, and yeah.
Nice. Um, like obviously I've seen the background images where you see some sort of semi-looking face and stuff. So I have a high imagination. I have a rough idea of what it's about. But obviously there's not a whole lot leaked for it. So now I'm in the like the Facebook group and stuff. And it looks
Okay, cool,
some of
cool. Yeah, yeah.
the pictures of the areas that he kind of wants to show and stuff looks. It just looks like it's going to be an all round top drawer project. Obviously, past guest Crystal obviously got brought on board as well. Um, so big shout out to her as well.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is, I mean, it's just, you know, I think the title kind of speaks for itself, The Woodman. So you can kind of get an idea of what's going to happen. And, like you said, you've been following the page, so you've seen the updates and the little tidbits of, like little clips and stuff that they've been using to, promote the movie. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's going to be a blast. I'm very much looking forward to it, to get back on set and to kind of dive into a little bit of like a different challenging role, but very excited about it for sure. Don't have any doubts by any means. Um, and yeah, it's just overall just, yeah, just exciting and looking forward to it and just can't wait to get there.
Then once you get that out the way, then what's next?
That I don't know. To be honest, I
A
really just
lot after.
to be honest, I'm really looking forward to the Mutilator 2's release, because I really just want to see what's going to happen with that. Moving forward, and just kind of all the talk about it, the press online with Fangoria and Bloody Disgusting just kind of promoting it as well, and just to see new faces and like an old story but new faces, putting that out there. So
I mean, for me, obviously, Buddy coming back, um, like it's his baby, really, to that kind of way. For him to come back and do it, and then the press that got, especially off such little information that was given, bar maybe two or three cast members, um, and then it just went off on one, to that kind of way. And obviously, they've gone big in terms of indie stars and very talented indie stars at that.
yeah, for sure.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know how they got you from it, but sure.
I got lucky, I guess. I got lucky. Hopefully
No,
this
it's
will
okay.
boost me up. We'll see what happens. um
But no, yeah, like it's a talented list the whole way through.
well, the thing is,
Um,
like, going off of that, I'm really hoping this will kind of boost me up, to be honest, and all jokes aside, because, like I said, I love to play creatures and monsters and killers, so normally in movies you don't really see my face. All I can really give away from this is that, I play a little bit more down to earth character. You actually get to see me, which is nice, and I'm actually happy about that. Um, and which I feel like for me as an actor, it's going to be beneficial to kind of get me out there. Um, and just to kind of see me in a little bit of a different element, as opposed to, again, being behind the mask and the makeup and covered up and not really seeing what I can do as an actor. So being able to kind of like take a 180 and go from monster to person, it's nice. And I'm really looking forward to seeing it myself, you, the fans, everybody else who's looking forward to watching it. And yeah.
I mean, like what you described there, we're obviously seeing it now as well, coming off for the obviously we spoke earlier about Art the Clown. David Howard Thornton doing the same thing. He was cast sort of Art the Clown behind the mask. I know his facial expressions are there, but doesn't say a word. Pretty much steals the show without saying a word. He got cast then in the main one again, heavily behind CGI or not CGI, behind special effects, makeup, and stuff. But then to be cast in another former guest, Mike Pickles, The Dead Place, where he doesn't have makeup on for some of it or most of it.
Yeah.
And you're actually going to get to see him actually
Yeah, I mean, again,
what he
not,
looks
not
like.
to make it not about me, but yeah, David, he's great as art. He's fantastic. He's an amazing character actor. Um, does such a great job with Art the Clown because there's such a transformation there, just from the acting to the makeup and everything, and his outfit. And yeah, so I think as a character actor and also like a suit performer, creature actor, to take on a role that is a little bit different. I know it's for the actor, for the audience, for the fans to see. Um, it's a surprise, but in a good way, because you don't know what they can bring to a different role. And I mean, they're an actor, so you're going to see what's going to happen. So
I mean, like I've said it on many occasions, and even on our other show in Retrotainment Recast, there's nothing wrong with being typecast. If you're behind the mask the whole time, by all means, go to the well and make your money.
absolutely,
Do
absolutely.
you know what I mean? But like, if you're happy to do that behind the mask, like take like if you look at Kane Hodder for years behind the mask, do you know what I mean? If you look at Derek Mears for years behind the mask and the makeup, do you know what I mean? People like that, Doug Jones. Now, his is more. Most of his were more facials that you could see, but it was makeup to bits.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like things like that. Doug Bradley. We obviously seen him in later years not being Pinhead and doing other stuff, which was great. Um, so there's generally nothing wrong with being behind the mask. Absolutely, there isn't. But you'd like a chance to expand.
For
Well,
sure, absolutely. It's I think it's funny when you're growing up and you see these movies, right? Like you see these characters, you don't, you at a certain age you don't know what is going on. You're just like, oh, like this is fun. Like, how are they doing this? What is this? Blah 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 blah. Like all this is like crazy. And you get older, you get more invested in it. You start researching about it. You find out more about it, and it's fascinating. And then when you see the people behind the mask, you're like, literally, it's like a kid in a candy shop. You're like, especially for people like us, it's like who love horror. It's like, oh my god, I never would have expected Robert Englund to look like that behind the Freddy mask or the makeup. It's like what? Like I love Hellraiser. Again, another one of my top favorites. When I saw when I saw Doug Bradley without makeup, I was like, what? This is insane. So yeah, like it's crazy. It's insane. But no, I totally agree with you 100%. I would say own it up, be behind the mask, own your character, belt it out to everybody, just show them what you can do and
no
yeah,
no
it's
regret.
no regrets by any means at all.
I mean, like if you even take, I know it's a contentious movie now because of issues that have arisen over the years, but like if you look at Jonathan Breck as the Creeper in Jeepers Creepers, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's one like nobody knew what he looked like really beforehand.
Nope,
and
they had no idea. They had no idea.
you could literally walk by him now and be like, I could stop you and be like, that's the lad who played Jeepers Creepers there, and you're like, oh. So I mean, so but being behind the
I want to
mask
say,
is not bad.
I mean, and that's the thing is like, you know, I feel like going off of that, again, it's not something that every actor wants to do. It's it's a process to say the least. Again, you don't get a lot of recognition because you're all covered up and nobody knows who you are. Um, but there's no shame in it. Like you bring so much to the character, and like it becomes an icon, and you know people remember and they realize, and it's like eventually be like, oh my god, like this person did this. That's amazing. You know,
Like,
and I didn't realize again with the person who played the creeper that would have been something I would have wanted to do. That role I feel like is so amazing and again iconic in itself. Um,
kind of like,
and
is that amazing? I got that done.
there you go. That's amazing. I love that. That's so cool. Um, and you know, yeah, I don't even know, dude. Like it's hard to describe it. It's just an amazing feeling to play a role like that. Um, I have a bunch of shorts where I play a creature that I have to send you, so you can watch it.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know you can post them and you know do whatever you want with them. Like I'm, you know, by all means, I can send you pictures and whatnot as well. But yeah, just like again, own it up. You know, show your craft. People will admire it and love it and be like, oh my god, that's amazing. And that's what I've heard from a lot of people when I tell them stuff that I've done and I show them pictures and the process and the makeup. They're like that doesn't even look like you. And it's like, well, yeah, that's the point. Like it's not supposed to look like me. It's not me. So yeah, you know, it's
I mean,
you know, I want to be a part of that community. I'm working toward that amongst doing other roles as well because I want to continue acting in the horror genre, but maybe also do other roles as well. But I want to keep up with the monster and the killer stuff and keep doing the special effects and all that stuff. Yeah, I love it so much.
that was my next question. Would you stay in horror or would you go and do other stuff? But obviously you've just answered that. Like how like
Well, so yeah, I mean,
just
I'll stay in horror by all means because I'm a fan and I love it on both aspects and both sides as an audience member and an actor. But you know, I'm not going to you know discount other roles if there's things that come up. Um,
oh yeah,
I will
you can't say
definitely
no.
be interested in that. So I was actually, and again, I can text you it, but a few years ago I was on a TV show. Probably I don't know if it's very big in Ireland, but it's called Evil Lives Here, and it's like a reenactment show of like real things that have happened about like serial killers and stuff like that.
All right, yeah,
And the episode they normally air it on like Discovery stuff like that, like Discovery ID things like that. And I was in season 3, like episode 7 of Evil Lives Here, and we filmed it in Brooklyn actually, so not too far from where I live. Um, and I play an actual character of a real person about a serial killer. So basically, I play the brother of a serial killer that he was preying on, you know, somebody, and my character is trying to warn the spouse of the individual that what this person had done because I didn't want to go, you know, rat him out. But you know, but if you want to watch the episode, I can send it to you. You clearly see me. Um, but it's called Evil Lives Here, and it's a pretty big show. I think they're actually going on like maybe uh, 7 or 8 seasons now. They're still going, so
oh,
they're continuing, and they do very very well. So people watch it and they love it. So, um, but yeah,
it definitely sounds like something my mother-in-law or something would watch. I'm not into all those true crime things.
you know, again, I'm really not either. But again, like as an actor's perspective, it was a job, and I was like, I want to do this
Oh,
to get recognition
absolutely.
and get out there. So I was like, I had never, to be honest, ever seen the show. And weirdly enough, now that I've been in it, I start watching it more. So I was like, all right, yeah,
Gotcha. Like, I mean, just before we wind it down tonight, like you can't say no to things like that. Do you know what I mean? If you're given that opportunity, like they could turn around to you and say, yeah, you're gonna be like at the time, could you imagine Ryan Gosling turned down, say, The Notebook? Do you know what I mean? Because it's a rom com or it's a
yeah.
not really a comedy, but Do you know what I mean? Like, could you imagine people because I wanted to stay in horror, and you turn down this and it goes on to be one of the best selling movies of all time? Do you know what I mean? Imagine Leonardo DiCaprio turning down Titanic because it's a love story. Do you know what I mean? You just like if you're an actor and you think you can bring something to the role, you go and take the role. Like Jack,
Absolutely,
like
100%.
look at Jack Nicholson, as good as it gets. Completely different to The Wolfman, completely different to The Departed. You just have to show
The
range and do
Shining,
it.
yeah, all of that. Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, The Shining was just pinnacle, wasn't it? It was just mental.
I mean, and that's the thing is like, again, and not to dive too deep into it, but going off what you're saying about like having range, and like I think again, like I feel like when it comes to being an actor, especially, you want to try to do whatever you can as much as you can and just kind of build that resume till you get to a
Yeah,
certain point in your career to where you feel comfortable. Um, I just love horror, man. I really do. I always have. It's something I want to continue doing, like I said. Um, Again, I'm not going to discount doing other things, but it's always going to have a big place in my heart. I love the genre. I love what it's brought and what it's going to bring. And
yeah,
just
yeah.
to see the future of that, I'm hoping to be more a part of that. So,
But as well, like I've said it on numerous shows as well, the horror community seems to be the closest knit community. Do you know what I mean?
absolutely. It really, really does. Yeah.
Like like if you're a horror fan, you'll watch anything. Like I'll watch absolutely any kind of horror. Doesn't matter what it is.
Dude, I'm with you. I literally from the lowest budget to studio films, like I just watched the movie Smile that we talked about. I'll watch anything. I will
I
literally
still haven't
watch
seen Smile.
anything. Did you
Um,
like that, by the way? What did you think?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you haven't seen it. Oh, okay.
No. Tombstone
It's
Ted, who's on the show quite regularly, keeps telling me to watch it, and I'm like, I'll watch it, and then I'll find something else to watch, and I'm like, ooh, I'm like a pigeon, something shiny.
I am too. No, it's good. It's fun. I wasn't sure about it because again, it was one of those things where I had some filmmaker friends of mine were like, "You should watch this. It's actually really good." Because I'm not trying to speak for everybody, but the thing is, with me, and I think you might agree with me on this. When it comes to horror, weirdly enough, I'd like to stay independent because I feel like those movies are usually better. Seriously,
I think
when it
it's because people don't have as much hands in it. If it's like, let's be fair, I'll always go back to Terrifier for it. If Terrifier was owned or made by a studio, there is no chance that hacksaw scene happens. There's no chance that that bedroom scene happens like it does. Do you know what I mean? And that takes away from the movie. So like independent, you get a bit more creative and think, okay, the budget mightn't be as big, but a lot more talent. Well, not I can't say a lot more talent goes into it, but um, like there's a lot of love and doing the best you can with what you have goes into it. Where
yeah.
if you have a 500 million budget, you can afford to make some mistakes because you can afford to pay for it out. But
Well, I mean,
if you have 500 grand to make a movie, you're oh sorry, excuse me, you're very locked in.
see, and again, I feel like maybe this is speaking out of working mostly with independent stuff, but when you have a lot of money, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the stakes are kind of low when it comes to a studio because it's a studio. So you have everything at your disposal,
Yeah,
whether it's going to go all right or it's going to go all wrong. When you are independently doing this yourself and you are getting investors to help you fund, all the stakes are high because you want to do the best that you can with whatever it is that you have. And there's no going down. You are only going up because that's what you're working toward. Um, so, with a studio film, it could go either way. But I just feel like when it comes to independent, it's like you're working toward the moon, man. Like you're trying to go as far up as you possibly can.
shoot for the sun and land on the moon.
There you go. There you
But
go.
I think with that we'll leave it there. Bryden, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll have you back absolutely anytime. See, the next time
Absolutely. It was
mightn't be as bad because it mightn't always be just about you. Now I know this one kind of goes off, but when it's not really focused on certain things, like you get the most random of conversations happening, which happen anyway. But
But I
you
love
get
it.
a
It's
chance,
cool.
you get a chance to sit down and be like, I've seen this movie, I've seen that movie, and it brings different aspects to it. But what we'll do is maybe in a few weeks, hopefully we'll have a release date for Mutilator or so, and we'll get you back on.
Okay.
If
It sounds
if
good. Yeah,
you're if
absolutely.
you're up for it.
Absolutely. It was very much a pleasure meeting you and being on here. I hope we get to chat again soon.
Absolutely. But this has been your Friday night, folks. And I will finish this in the way that I finish every Friday night. In the words of the great George A. Romero, ladies and gentlemen, stay scared.
Woo!